You're listening to Untarnished Moments, the podcast that helps you shine through life challenges and move past self-defeat into victory. I'm your host, Donna Cherie. Let's get into today's show. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Untarnished Moments. Thank you all for joining today. And today I have a very special guest. I call him a friend, a brother, a mentor, and a godly man, a godly leader who wants to inspire and equip so many individuals. So I'm happy to have him on the show today. Welcome to the show, Noel.
Hey, welcome. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad to finally be here. So you've talked about this for a while, and to finally be here, it's amazing.
Yeah, I'm just so glad to be able to have you as a guest and my first guest at that. So tell the audience what you do.
Of course, I'm a podcaster of Relentless Conversations. I'm also an author, a motivational speaker, and I'm also moving into coaching. I have a podcast coaching course coming soon. And I also have something that I like to call Relentless Development, where I help those with a quitter's mentality to go through relentless development to help them attain their goals. Because sometimes in the midst of us going after those goals, we feel like we want to quit. We had, life happens and, our mentality happens. And we feel like we want to give up because the journey of it, we know we're going to face some obstacles, but then there are some things that just catch us off guard, that catch us by a blow, and it just throws us off. So that's part of that relentless development.
Okay, that sounds awesome. So what made you get started with all that you just mentioned?
Okay, so I'm going to start with my book, Be Relentless. Actually, I'm going to go a little bit further with my first book, Unlocking the Treasures from Within. So after I written the first book, Unlocking the Treasures from Within, I went on a 7-year hiatus, partly because I knew the impact that Unlocking the Treasures would have, but I didn't know the journey of it. I didn't know the things that I was going to go through. And of course, sometimes we see the vision and we expect it to happen tomorrow. So I gave up. I quit. I went on a 7-year hiatus. And leading up to the 7 years, God started waking me up, what I would like to say. And the simple word was relentless. And as we came into 2020, right as the country was about to shut down, some hard times, we was going through a rough patch. And she left for a moment. And I was stuck in the house with myself because just like most people, I was working from home. And it's amazing when you're stuck with yourself because you have to face yourself. I tell people all the time, if you continue to run from God, eventually he'll put you in a corner where you have no choice but to listen to him. And it was in that moment that I had to listen to him. I had to accept where I was at. I had to look at where I was at and come out of that place. And the only way I knew I could come out of that place is if I be relentless, which is that second book that I released. I had to be relentless of everything that I would face, every obstacle, whether it was my marriage, whether it was my business, anything that I wanted to do, any goals, I had to be relentless. I came from the history of game bang. And whenever we did something, it wasn't, can you please do this? It was that bold approach. It was that like kicking in the door. So, and that's the mentality I have now. I may struggle with it for a minute, but I guarantee you, I'm going to kick in that door and I'm taking what's mine. I'm not asking for it because God has already given us what's ours. And it's up to us to unlock it. And it takes a lot of boldness. And that's why I like to refer to the lion. It takes a lot of boldness in knowing who you are and your approach, your walk, your stance. All of that matters to where you're going. A lot of people, they feel like they're the underdogs. But I guarantee you, it's the underdog that's going to come around and win. Family, he was the underdog because he was the one that his father wasn't looking for when Samuel came to anoint the next king. He was the one that was least expected. And a lot of people that God has put a purpose in, you've been just like that, fighting bears, you've been fighting lions in the midst of protecting your sheep, the things that belong to you. You've been protecting it. And I need you to understand that there's a David inside of you. There's a king, there's a queen inside of you, but you have to be relentless.
Facts. So true. And when you mentioned the underdog, I was at a conference earlier this week, and the guy was just speaking about the underdogs and how other underdogs fight for each other, you know,
Yeah.
and they become change agents. And that's what we have to do, continue to be relentless through it all. So, man, that's so good. And just the fact that 7 years, you went on a 7 year hiatus, but God dug you out.
Yeah.
Now you're being relentless and helping others be relentless. So if somebody is in that place where they feel like they're stuck or that they can't get out because they've been knocked down so many times because of life circumstances or their environment, what can they do to get out or to get up to awake?
I will say this. I'm in where I am now. I'm big on doing a self-assessment. Sometimes you have to track where you are. It's kind of like when you're trying to find the end to a plug in the midst of a bunch of cords. You're gonna take this cord and you're gonna trace it back to its source. So I would say first, doing an assessment of where you are. Like, why am I here? A lot of times out in the midst of where we are, our vision gets blurred and we're not seeing things clearly just yet. And the crazier thing about it is, along with that sense of self assessment, it is sometimes hard and difficult because you have to see the ugly truths about yourself. In 2020, I had to see some things about myself and realize some things about myself that I wasn't ready to see. And we become comfortable, we become accustomed to where we are, that we don't realize that it's an issue we're going through. It's also to help. So you have to ask this tag, or was this something to help develop me? And if it was to help develop me, what caused me to stop right here? What caused me to want to quit right here? A lot of times it's because we don't want to face the challenge. A lot of times we don't want to face what's ahead because we want the easy route. But what if God doesn't want you to take the easy route?
Yeah, that's a good point. That self-assessment is necessary. We have to look within. We got to look at that mirror of ourselves so that we can get to the next step.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, we got to want it. We got to want it for ourselves. That's what I believe. And then just take the first step. And of course, God, He'll be with us.
Yeah. That's all it is that first step. When you think about Peter, when he was asked to come, when he saw Jesus out on the water, and he asked him, "What's that, Lord? Is that you?" And he said, "Yes, it's me." And he said, "Well, allow me to walk out on the water." Peter took that first step. He took that first step, but he didn't know the journey that was going to be ahead of him. He didn't know that in the midst of that, a storm was going to arise and he was going to start losing faith and he was going to start sinking. But what was amazing about it is, even in the midst of that, God was right there with him. In the midst of him about to drown, about to sink, and everything that was happening in his life, God caught him. And we have to think about that very thing, that I'm starting this journey and I'm about to go forward. I don't know what's ahead. Some things I know I may face, and there's gonna be some things that I don't gonna face. I may lose my grip just a little bit because I have to be real about it. We're human and we're gonna lose grip sometimes. And no matter if I lose that grip, God is still right there and he's gonna catch me. So, and that's the thing. You just have to start walking.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I definitely agree. So take us back for a second to, because you mentioned that you were in a gang before. So take us back to that initial place that you was in, like where you knew you had to get out or you wanted to do something different. Or what was the shift that you said, hey, I have to do something different? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Oh man. So I was into selling drugs, and my friends and I we had pretty much started our own branch of a Crips set. We called it Ghost Crips. And my vision for the set was to start branching it out to other cities, to other states. I had a whole type of mafia mindset towards this.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had a dream that a drug bust was going to happen. Of course, like, most of us, when we're back in what we was in, I ignored it. It's just a normal dream. And it happened just like the dream. Somebody knocked on the door. My friend went to the door and opened the door, and in comes the police. And it was at that moment that God spoke, and I acknowledged it. And he said, turn to me or else. And it was in that moment when I was like, okay, God, I'm done. Whatever you want to do, I'm willing to do it. I surrender at this very moment, because I thought about a lot of the other things that I've done, and I finally, one thing I get arrested on was a drug charge. And just to even talk about the journey towards that, of course, I got out on bail that night. But when I got sentenced, instead of getting sentenced to prison, they sentenced me to was like a boot camp. It was like a detention center, so to speak. And I spent 2 months in county because I was waiting on the bed in the state. And it was an amazing experience, because I was able to not only spend a lot of time with God, but I was able to minister to a lot of guys that was locked up with me. When I was in county, I spent most of my time in my cell, in which naturally I'm like that anyway. I'm more of a loner, but I spent most of my time in my cell. I probably came out, take a shower and, call my mom and let her know that I'm okay, because we know mom's going to work. So, I took time, to call her, but most of the time I spent my time in my cell reading and praying. And when I got to boot camp, I'll never forget this one experience. We was playing basketball tents, because we stayed in like these kind of like cabin type tents, and we was playing a game, tent versus tents, and we was betting on the games. We were putting up. I lost at the end of the game. I was talking to like two or three guys, and I told them, I was telling them how I knew I was going to lose this game. But as I was talking to them, in the midst of that, I was still ministering to them. I kid you not, by the time I was finished, majority of everybody that was in boot camp was standing there listening to everything I had to say. So, the experience there, it was amazing. So it was funny sometimes, but it was still amazing, because I had that time that I was spending with God.
Yeah, and I can so relate to that. I can so relate to that. Just as you already know, like just being in the situation that I was in and just using that time to do that self-assessment and also allowing that time to for God to mold me and shape me and also to use me to be a vessel to somebody else. And so
Yeah,
I just want to speak to the audience real quick and just let them know it doesn't matter whatever season of life you're in, that God, he can still use you. He still wants to use you. And you just got to be willing, and you also have to be obedient. And like Noel said, just taking that first step.
absolutely.
So, as far as now, like you've progressed so much since that time of where you were, and then now to be able to inspire others to be relentless. And what is one thing that keeps you going on a daily basis?
I think about where I once was, and where I felt like giving up if I just had somebody that could put some kind of motivation into me, spark something into me, I think about those people that want to give up, those people who are on the verge of quitting. I think about those. It's those times I see myself in them and I think about, I can't give up right here because I don't want them to give up where they are. So that is really my biggest motivation to keep going.
All right, all right. So fire under you. Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah.
For somebody who's listening, just speak to them and give them some encouraging words so that they can be relentless real quick.
Absolutely. I just want to tell you this. I know things may be challenging right now. Your finances may not be good, or your marriage may not be good, or you just having issues believing in yourself. I want you to know that greater days are ahead for you. And I also want you to know that you are more than a conqueror. There is so much in store for you. You just continue to press on just a little bit more. There's more on the other side for you that God has. There's so much that God is saying that I want to do for you. But all I need you to do is just trust me right now. You just like Peter, you took that first step. But right as you took that first step, it's like all the storms start raging. Everything around you start raging. It's like you're in the house of chaotic situations. But I guarantee you, at the end of the day, those chaotic situations are going to end. And even while you're in the midst of that, I tell anybody, leave no days left behind. And what I mean by leaving no days left behind is if you could at least do one thing. Doing one thing is better than doing nothing in the midst of your storm, because I know it can be draining, it can be tiring, but just continue to work on even just one thing, because one step is better. Again, one step is better than no steps. So I just want you to know that you got this. Keep going and just be relentless. That's my message for you.
All right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Keep being relentless. And K Noel, tell the audience where they can find you.
Oh, yeah. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at K Noel Motivates, Facebook and YouTube. You can find me at K Noel the Relentless Motivator. So yeah, you can find me on all of those handles. I'm thinking about doing a TikTok soon. I may jump on that platform. I've been on the fence for a long time, so I may jump on there. And if I do, it'll be K Noel Motivates.
Yeah, so guys, make sure you check him out. He's great. I listen to his videos and listen to his podcast, and I believe that you'll be encouraged and inspired, and of course, relentless. Until next time, guys.
Appreciate it.
Hey, Overcomers. Thanks for tuning in. For more information, head on over to donnacherie.com. If you want to find me online, I'm at I am Donna Cherie on Instagram and Donna Cherie on Facebook. Don't forget to join the Overcomers Confidence Club Facebook community. And of course, if you love the show, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes.